everybody, welcome back to Happy Bake Day, where every day is a very happy bake day. I hope you had a great week. I'd love to hear if you had any baking adventures or maybe some misadventures over the last week. Please let me know in the comments below how it went. Today we are going to be making bread pudding. Woo! So when I make my bread pudding, you can use two different types of bread. I'm going to be using a challah loaf. You can also use a brioche. Basically what you want to do is use just any type of a sweet bread. One of the best things too is to either let your bread sit in your refrigerator for a couple of days or out on your countertop for a day or two, just so that way it gets a little bit hard, a little bit crusty, because what's going to happen is what we're going to do is once we mix all of our wet ingredients together, we're going to let the bread soak in those ingredients to get to create a nice custard base before we bake it. And so a harder, crustier bread will help soak up the ingredients without getting mushy. As my husband very graciously reminded me, you can of course put chocolate chips in this recipe. I don't know how much I would put in there. Just do it to taste. Half a bag, whole bag, the whole damn thing would just be chocolate. That's fine. It'll be good. Or, as an alternative, if you have a chocolate chip challah or a chocolate chip brioche, you can use that as well instead of adding chocolate chips separately. Same thing, if you have like a raisin challah bread or raisin brioche, you can do that as well. I know a lot of bread pudding recipes call for raisins. Some also call for dried apricot or peaches. You can put those in your recipe too. But like I said, today I'm going to be using a plain old regular challah bread. This one has a really nice golden crust here on the top. So the ingredients we're going to use today for our bread pudding, I've got a half loaf of challah here. I have a pinch of salt, half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Again, this was optional. Feel free to add cinnamon if you'd like. You can also add chocolate chips, fresh fruit, dried nuts, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I have 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, 2 cups of milk, and I have 2 eggs, as well as a greased 8x8 glass baking dish. So our first step is we're going to combine our milk, sugar, butter, vanilla, and salt over a stove that's set on low heat until everything is melted and well combined. Completely melted and everything looks combined to me. So what we're going to do is turn the heat completely off and just move the pot here to another cool burner to let the milk here cool down a little bit. What we will eventually be doing is adding the eggs to this mixture, but we can't do it while the mixture is hot because the eggs will scramble. So yeah. We don't want scrambled eggs in our milk. Ew. Instead, we're going to scramble the eggs out of the milk and then add them to the milk. Cold milk, cool milk, less hot milk, and then it'll be mixed. All right, so with our milk mixture cooling over on the stove, next step is to cut our challah bread. We're going to cut it into about 2-inch cubes. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you have some that are 1 inch, some that are 3 inches, it's not a big deal. But I will try to cut them the best that I can into 2-inch cubes. And once they have been cubed, I will put the bread here into my baking dish. And then we'll add the milk mixture. So we've got our bread here pretty tightly packed in our baking dish. Again, it's not perfect, but I did want to puzzle piece them in to make sure that at least the bottom of my baking dish is covered. I'm gonna set it off to the side here. I'm gonna take my 2 eggs and scramble them into this little dish. And while our mixture has cooled down, we'll slowly whisk the 2 eggs into our milk mixture, which will then get poured over the top of our bread here, but not before adding our pinch of cinnamon. That would also be a good time to add any of the other additional mix-ins that you've chosen. You can also just sprinkle them directly on top of your bread and then pour over your milk mixture instead of adding it into the milk itself. But since I'm choosing to do cinnamon, I'm going to add it to the liquid before pouring it in. Now that our milk mixture has cooled down, I'm going to slowly incorporate the eggs. I have my whisk here, so I'm just gonna pour the eggs and slowly whisk at the same time. Whisking also helps that if your milk mixture is still a little warm, it will help avoid the eggs getting turned into scrambled eggs in your milk mixture. Now the eggs will help turn the bread into that custard we were talking about. So as the milk and the sugar and the eggs get absorbed here into the bread and we let it rest for about an hour before putting it into the oven, that will create that really, really nice custard that we all love with our bread pudding. So now that I'm still whisking, this is a good time to add my cinnamon. All right, everything has been incorporated together beautifully. And the last step here is to pour our milk and egg mixture over our challah bread. I'm going to try and cover all of it completely. All right. So now that the egg and milk mixture has been added to our challah bread, what we're going to do is let it rest here on the counter for an hour. And then what we'll do is bake it in the oven. We will bake this at 350 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. You'll know it's done once the bread kind of gets a nice golden brown color and the inside stays a little bit wobbly but not mushy or sloshy. Once that full hour has passed for the bread and the milk mixture here to rest, then we'll put it in our oven. Well, everyone, I hope you had a great time baking with me today, and I hope your bread pudding turned out delicious. I'd love to hear if you chose to add anything additional. Did you do cinnamon like me? Did you add chocolate chips or maybe some dried fruit? I know raisins is a pretty typical add-in for bread pudding, so I'd love to hear how yours turned out as well. Let me know in the comments below. As always, we'll be posting new videos every Friday, so tune in next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell if you want a notification the next time we post a video. Thanks again for joining me, guys. I hope you have a very happy bake day, and we'll see you next time.